All right, so making this quick video here, we've had no trades really set up into the entire day. And here we have the micro golds because I think a lot of folks have been wondering about the micros. So yes, the volatility box does work on the micros, but we have a trade that's just triggered, right? And so now I'm waiting for a volatility box edge signal. It'd be pretty awesome if we could get one and really have just a nice trade into the close that gives us a nice follow through. And what then that means we'd be looking for is a signal to go long the indices, right? And if we bring up our grid, we can take a look that on the Nasdaq, that would also make sense because we've had an edge arrow signal give us signs to go down. And now we might be looking for an edge arrow signal that gives us a sign to go long. So the positions that I'm really looking for are an opportunity to get long the Nasdaq and an opportunity to get short gold. But for each of these, I'd like the edge arrow signal to populate. That gives me a little bit more confidence in the trades, and then I can take my proper size based off of whatever the signals are. Right? We can see gold is still wavering, so is the Nasdaq. So let's take a look to see what kind of action we get into the close. And instead of pausing the video, we'll leave this running, so it may be sped up. I'll add some background music so you guys aren't bored, but just keep in mind that this is where we're now watching to see if we get any of these signals. And I'd like to have this as a time lapse if we can. So far, it looks like gold is trying to take off without us, but I'm still staying patient, still staying disciplined, still waiting for that signal, just in case gold ends up ripping way higher. And I'm assuming that one of these should give us a signal, hopefully, here in the next few minutes. Let's see. And this right here is a perfect example for why we stay disciplined, right? If you had tried to preemptively enter that trade, most likely your stop would have been below this pivot low, and you see how the Nasdaq is just taking you out. Same thing on gold. If you had tried to enter at this close thinking that this is where we were going to get that push down, you had this retest so far, which not really painful per se, but would have been frustrating to see because you knew you should have stayed patient. So let's keep an eye out. So far we see the Nasdaq is falling way lower than gold has gone up. Interesting sign so far. Nas crack coming back to life. Our volatility box level is all the way down at 97.09, and this is using our aggressive levels. So we have quite a bit more ways to fall on the Nasdaq if we're looking for a true edge. And in the case of gold, we're already at that edge. So to me, the way I'm seeing this so far is most likely what should happen here, what I would guess to happen here rather, is that gold really starts to chop sideways here until say the final 10 or so minutes before we get that decision as to which way we're going to go. And then the Nasdaq maybe continues to fall while gold chops sideways, but let's see. Crude also looks like we may be getting an entry here soon. Same thing, looking for an edge signal. For those of you that are looking to try and find an opportunity to get long crude, you could use either the CL futures here, QM, or even USO for a commission-free trade, which I think is pretty cool, or even options on USO, right? And if we overlay USO right on top of this chart, it should look fairly similar. We have that edge arrow signal falling down. So for the most part, they're following, or the correlation right now is pretty similar in terms of if you can use USO as a good substitute for crude, yes or no? Okay, so let's do a quick recap because we can now see that gold has broken above even our volatility box clouds. And this is why I think it's just so important to stay disciplined and to stay unemotional, make sure we follow our rules no matter what time of day it is, no matter if we've had trade set up, no matter if it's just been a day of watching like today has been, because if you had, say, tried to preemptively enter this trade right here, this would have been a pretty annoying stop out to end the day instead of being up $0 and also down $0 to instead be now down on the gold trade, and our Nasdaq still hasn't triggered. We're approaching towards the end of the market close. We have about 13 minutes left. So let's take a look to see in case we have any last minute signals. But as of right now, gold broke above what we expected it to do. The Nasdaq has been the one that's really started to chop a little bit sideways. Still waiting to see if we can get a bullish edge arrow signal populate on the Nasdaq, because I think that just supports this theory that gold is a little bit extended outside of its volatility ranges and could start to pull back, which could then also start to help lift us higher in the Nasdaq. However, no promises that this trade will actually trigger, but that's what I'm looking for in the final now 12 minutes of the market. Now, the Russell did trigger an entry, but we see we have right around 3 minutes left into the final close of the day. The Nasdaq has given us an edge arrow signal that populated. Now, with only 3 minutes left, I think it's fair to question what kind of follow through you can really see from this Nasdaq trade, or from this Russell trade, excuse me. And so I think it's smart to skip this trade. But even there's a Nasdaq entry right here. So if you are looking to try and play even not only into 1 o'clock Pacific, but up to 1:15, then that could be a semi-interesting trade where you're looking for some sort of follow through into the 1694.9-ish area or so into the final close, and then you get a nice small winner there along with the Nasdaq. I think for me, I'm just really looking to sit on my hands at this point, but you do see that the Russell's starting to get that little bit of follow through. Alright, so we have just about a minute left. The Russell really didn't see any sort of major follow through. Gold still continuing to rip up higher, gives us our clues to sit on our hands, not participate in the market. Now we see a second edge arrow signal populating on the Nasdaq, and we see that rip up higher that I think we thought we would see, at least as of that first edge arrow signal. So I think that's interesting to see. Same with the Russell, right? So now I think you may get that follow through. Let's see what happens. Ooh, yeah, all right, looks like it. Yeah, the Russell's getting close to hitting our target, right? We're looking for 3. It's currently at 1.5-ish, but it has definitely perked up. Same with the Nasdaq, and we see gold had this puke down lower. But it's interesting to see that these signals even continue to work into our final hours of the day, right? Technically, we could construe this as an edge of hour entry, but you see just how quickly we ripped up higher as soon as that next hour, or well, in this case, the market bell happened. Market ripped up higher. We had that nice, we had that nice reversal. Same with the Nasdaq, right? Your edge signal arrow entry came right around that 97.33-ish area or so, and so far you're at 97.36. So not that much higher, but you see that the Nasdaq has started to perk up. You have 2 edge signal arrow indicators populating. Russell definitely looks like the strongest of them all, which is also interesting considering the Russell's the one that fell the most in terms of relative volatility. Okay, I think I'm going to end the screen share here. It's starting to seem like the market's just starting to chop sideways. So the Nasdaq had a pretty mundane follow through. The Russell did have this nice perk up higher where you did make that move that you were looking for, right? You were looking for a bare minimum move of 2 points, and the Russell did get up to 2 points. And so I think that's where, if you were looking to participate in this trade, yes, you were able to get your T1. However, with it being an edge of hour trade into the final few minutes of the close, not really something that I'm looking at for a potential new entry, especially with gold giving us very clear signals that the volatility is a little bit out of sync. But I think that's how you can start to look at trading the close. So hopefully this commentary helped. Unfortunately, we didn't have any entries into today, but that's all right. I think it gives you an idea of why staying disciplined is important. So we avoided this loss, and how you can start to look at these markets starting to work together and really look for these edge arrow signal indicators into the final 30 minutes or so of the market. And we'll do a little bit bigger backtest study of how effective those signals are thanks to a member, but we'll do that in a different video. So hopefully this video was helpful. The commentary helped. I'm hoping that in one of these days for our commentary videos, we can have one where we actually have trades that trigger. But until then, take care, and we'll see you in the next video.